From actor-producer to high-profile defendant, this morning, Alec Baldwin facing involuntary manslaughter along with a firearms charge for his role in the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. This morning, 15 months after a deadly and tragic accident, the district attorney says 3 people who should have prevented the shooting will now all face justice.
A situation like this, it's always unfortunate because it's just true negligence. If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think this is Alec Baldwin's fault. And the reason why I don't think it's his fault is because if you have someone on set and their particular job is to check the guns and to make sure it's good, if you're an actor, how are you supposed to know that they didn't do their job? Like, that's literally what their job is there for.
After sorting through body camera footage, police interviews, and forensic testing of the gun, the DA is also charging Russ armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed with involuntary manslaughter. It was her job to ensure gun safety and to check all the bullets on set were harmless dummy rounds.
I think all the blame should go on the armorer because their primary job is to check the gun. What do you think?
I have more questions than I do any final determination of who I think was right or wrong. I do think that the armorer is more culpable in the situation.
Yeah, because it's like your main job is to check the gun. How are you not going to check the gun?
I don't know what their main job is, but it sounds like that would be one of them.
Yeah.
I'm the headquarters battalion armorer for Marine Forces Reserve. My job as an armorer is to make sure that all the weapons under my care are maintained at the highest state of readiness. My duties as an armorer is to make sure 100% accountability of all weapons under my care, so that way there are no mishaps with the weapons out there.
But the biggest question I have is why were there live rounds on the set to begin with?
We still don't have the answer to the critical question, how did live rounds actually end up on set?
They should really get to the heart of that.
Oh, so you think it could be like a setup situation?
Could be foul play.
Okay.
But, I mean, I know I'm kind of stretching it a little bit. Maybe the armorer had some beef with the lady that passed away. Ooh. And maybe she set it up. The other question I have is why was Alec Baldwin pointing the gun at the woman in the first place?
There was such a lack of safety and safety standards on that set that there were live rounds on set. They were mixed in with regular dummy rounds. Nobody was checking those, or at least they weren't checking them consistently. And then they somehow got loaded into a gun, handed off to Alec Baldwin. He didn't check it. He didn't do any of the things that he was supposed to do to make sure that he was safe or that anyone around him was safe. And then he pointed the gun at Halyna Hutchins and he pulled the trigger.
You know what it could be? You gotta think when there's movies, there's a lot of promotional stuff. So they're like, okay, we'll shoot right here. Shot, shot, shot. You know what I'm saying? How people position stuff. So maybe that's why they had to do that. I'm not exactly sure. I've never been on a movie set.
Well,
okay, that's a lot. But I don't know how it works.
I don't either, but what you just said made me think that perhaps what they're doing is because she's a cinematographer, maybe she's saying, okay, well, Alec, you're gonna stand here in this scene or here, and you're gonna do that, and then maybe he's just joking around. You know, in your work, you joke around with coworkers. Maybe he's like, oh, bang, and thinking it's a fake round, a dummy round, as it should be, but it's not.
So there's live rounds all over the set. An accident was going to happen, and she should have, or somebody should have noticed that at some point.
Now, here's me stretching it a bit, but I wonder how much the prosecution or the DA, District Attorney's Office, wants to make this a thing just because they want to
set an example.
Yeah, or just have a high publicity case in their jurisdiction or whatever. They do that kind of stuff.
Confident they can convict, prosecutors say they never believed Baldwin's statement he didn't pull the trigger.
I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off. I didn't pull the trigger.
Alec Baldwin said he never pulled the trigger on the handgun that fired. Do you believe that?
That's not true. And we know that from the FBI lab report. That gun would not have fired without the trigger having been pulled. We have videos of him where his hand was on the trigger.
So they're like forcing charges on Alec Baldwin.
I think Alec Baldwin is capping when he's like, oh, well, I didn't shoot. It's like, dude, how else would the gun go off? Come on. That's ridiculous. Like, you obviously shot it. Like I said, I don't think it's intentional. You're trusting that one person is doing their job. It's like, so if it's Alec Baldwin's responsibility to double check it, then why is there an armorer there anyway?
So one of the reasons they're bringing charges against Alec Baldwin in this is because he's a producer on the film.
I caught that too, yeah.
As the actor that pulled the trigger, that's obviously a very compelling fact, but he's also facing charges as a producer because he should have known that the conditions on that set were unsafe.
So he has some kind of like responsibility to
he has oversight. That's what you're saying. Okay.
So I can see
that does make sense. If you're the producer, aren't you there to make sure that all the pieces align and are in work? So like, let's say you're a producer, you hire the armor person, right? The one who's supposed to like load the gun and make sure the guns are safe. Isn't that already fulfilling your duty as a producer?
So
if you make sure that person is there to take care of that responsibility, and if that person's not there, then you find someone who's able to do that responsibility.
I would think so, but at the same time, I don't know enough. Like what I thought producers are there for is to fund the film. But I'm probably way off. But I thought one of the main things, I don't know. I don't know. This, we don't pay attention to the credits. But if you ever notice, exactly, no one does. Now they're trying to put people in the beginning of the film now to get people to watch. But there are so many people that are involved in the making of a film. I don't know who's responsible for what. But armorer sounds like your job is to make sure.
Yeah, to load the gun.
Or, you know what I mean? So she should probably be the one that's mostly responsible.
Exactly.
Or held responsible.
But, I think it's, in this case, Alec Baldwin obviously has the biggest name.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I agree with you. I think he is lying about not pulling the trigger, which I don't know why.
That sounds ridiculous. Like, when you're saying that, it's like, I don't even think most people, I think the general consensus is that most people don't even exactly blame him. But it's the fact that when you come out and say something ridiculous, like, oh, I didn't even pull the triggers. Okay, then how does the gun go off? Like, the gun automatically goes off? The only way I could see it not happening is that it happened by accident. Like, he didn't mean to pull it, but let's say, like, his hand was positioned someplace where it could have might have tapped it or something like that. But either way,
that's what he said.
The gun went off.
True. And you know what? I'll be interested to dig into more once the more details come out about the investigation they're doing, what comes out. They said they did forensic analysis.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what they found off the forensic analysis. That his handprints are on there.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, okay, then what are they going to prove? That his hand was on the gun? Duh.
There's video of that.
Yeah.
The main question I think is why are there live rounds on set? Period. Why?
My main question is why didn't they check him?
That's the armorer's job, I believe.
That's what my main question is. Why didn't the armorer check it?
If the armorer is the reason there's live rounds on set and she failed to check the gun, I'm pointing the finger at her.
That's why I said, why is it his fault? Because he trusted them to do the job.
Prosecutors also argue that Baldwin had a duty to properly check the gun before using it. But Baldwin's attorney, who called the decision a terrible miscarriage of justice, said that Baldwin relied on the professionals with whom he worked, who assured him the gun did not have live rounds.
That's like you having a janitor, right? Mm-hmm. And the janitor's supposed to be like mopping the floor. And he says, you know what? The floors are good. You're not going to slip. They're perfectly fine. And then, like, let's say, like, you're a teacher or something like that. You're like, all right, students, go ahead. You can hit the floors now. And then the students end up falling on the floor. And they're like, hold on. It's your fault because you told the students to run on the floor. And technically, it'd be the janitor's fault because the janitor told you it was all safe. And that's the main janitor's job. But, yeah, it's your fault because you told him to go on the floor. But you only told him that because you were advised by a professional.
That's a good analogy. I think what will happen is they'll be like, oh, well, the teacher has a...
I know, they're always going to turn it some kind of way. I was trying to think of something better, but that's all I had in my hand, man.
The teacher has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure the force actually drives. Like,
yeah, they would have... No. Yeah, but like, you guys get what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but nonetheless, it makes sense. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out.
My thing that I did like is I don't remember what the lady's position or title was. When they asked if he's going to go to prison, her face was like, he doesn't really need prison.
Do you think someone should go to prison over all of the evidence you've reviewed?
Prison is not necessarily the goal. What I want is justice for Helena Hutchins.
It was more of probably like community service, or he's probably got to pay a huge fine.
The latter
is what it seems.
The latter,
which I'm fine with. I think that's somewhat fair.
This will probably end up becoming like a civil type of thing versus criminal.
Yeah.
In other words, it's going to come down to money.
Yeah, because he didn't intend to do it.
Yeah, involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no one believes he did it intentionally.
Yeah.
No, normally he actually thought they were
right in front of everybody, right?
No.
Come on.
That does beg the question: is it really necessary to try him? I mean, someone did die, unfortunately.
If you have an actor with what he or she thinks is a prop gun, not a real gun, is that actual negligence if it turns out that gun can actually shoot?
It's more than that. Every person that handles a gun has a duty to make sure that if they are going to handle that gun, point it at someone and pull the trigger, that it is not going to fire a projectile and kill someone. We've talked to many actors, A-list and otherwise, that have said that they always check their guns, or they have someone check it in front of them. So it's not... an actor doesn't get a free pass just because they're an actor. We know from our investigation that there had been accidental misfires prior to this, that there were people that were complaining about safety on set. And so he should have been aware that safety was an issue on set. And then as an actor that day, he should have checked that gun, checked those projectiles.
It was a complete accident. That's what I'm saying. Who brought live rounds? They are responsible.
This is what I think. This is what I think.
Rounds?
I think whatever profits they make from the movie should obviously go to funding the funeral and funding the expenses. And then they should also be responsible for paying for like 1 year of their family's expenses, what I think.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. That's good.
Fair, right? Fair. All right, guys. So this has been Bad Decisions. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos.